Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last session of our STEAM Open House. Today, I have the great pleasure to introduce you to our last speaker, but potentially one of the most important, if not the most important one, because he's going to share with us some crucial information so that you can complete your process of studying in the United States. This is the student visa session. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Landon Taylor, who has served in the U.S. Foreign Service for 29 years, with overseas assignments as Deputy Consul General in San Salvador, Consular Section Chief in Kiev, Consular Section Chief in Riga, Deputy Consular Section Chief in Kiev, Consular and Economics Officer in Abuja, and Vice Consul in Monterrey. His domestic assignments have included tours in the Bureau of Human Resources, the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, and the Bureau of Consular Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon, Maria, and thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session. I will try to get through the presentation fairly quickly so that we can leave as much time as possible for questions. I was told that it would be okay to give the presentation in English, but my slides are in Spanish, so you can consider this a pop quiz for the day for your translation skills. So I am the Consul General in Panama City, and that just means I'm in charge of the consular section here. Today, we will be talking about the process of applying for student visa. We'll talk a little bit about the student visa interview itself. I will talk about some of the myths surrounding the visa process, and then I'll be giving you some resources and some contact information. So first of all, I always like to start by letting people know exactly what a visa is. A visa is essentially permission to go to the borders of the United States and to request admission from our Customs and Border Protection Authority. It is the Customs and Border Protection officers who work for the Department of Homeland Security who have the final say over who may enter the United States. The visa indicates that a person has permission to go and seek entry over a certain period of time for a certain purpose. Our visas are classified by letter. They actually go from A to V, the last time I checked, covering different purposes of travel. Today, we're going to be talking mainly about three of those letters: the F visa, the J visa, and the M visa. These are all different types of student visas. The F is the one I think that applies to most of you here today. An F is a visa for an academic or language program. So a person seeking to go to the United States to attend an academic program, to study English, or to complete a degree would go on an F visa. The J is the exchange visa. It covers a wide variety of exchanges, from the summer work and travel program to secondary students, university students, postgraduate work, teacher exchanges, and other short-term professional exchanges. And that's the J visa. And then the M visa is for vocational students. So students going to non-academic courses. For instance, persons going to the US to go to a flight school to learn how to fly, or to go to various other types of vocational studies would apply for an M visa. So a couple things about the process of applying for a visa. First of all, it's important to remember that the requirements to receive a visa, the law governing who is and is not entitled to a student visa, is the same around the world. These are codified in what we call the Immigration and Nationality Act. It's our job as consular officers overseas to decide visa applications in accordance with the law. So the law is universal. It applies to every student from every country applying for a visa at any U.S. embassy or consulate. What does change from place to place is the method of applying. So for instance, how the appointment system works, how you schedule your appointment, how you pay the fee. The fee is universal. The application fee is $160 currently, and that is universal. In some countries, such as Panama, there's an additional fee if a visa is issued. That is currently $90 for students. That's called a reciprocity fee, which we charge because we need to make up the difference between $160 and what the Panamanian government would charge a U.S. citizen student coming to Panama. That varies from country to country, but the law determining qualification is the same. Students going on an F visa receive what's called a Form I-20. You need to have that form. I suspect you've already spoken about how to get the I-20 earlier in the day. And that's the first requirement really to apply for student visas. You have to have the I-20 from a school in the US. And then we're allowed to issue a visa up to 120 days before the program start date on the I-20. For folks going on a J visa, it's a different form, something called a DS 2019, and we can issue a visa as soon as the student gets that form. So before the interview, what does someone need to do? Well, you need to complete the application, which is called the DS 160. At this point, I'm going to ask Maria if she would not mind pasting a link into the chat, which is for those of you that are in Panama. This would be the link to follow to go through the process of scheduling your interview. It would also include links to where you can fill out your application and to where you can pay your application fee. All of that is done through the site of our call center contractor, and that website is ustraveldocs.com. As I said, if you're joining us from another country, the website to do that may be different. But to apply for a student visa, as I said, first you need to fill out the application form, the DS-160, which is online. You schedule an appointment, and that process is online, and you pay the application fee, which can also be done online. Scheduling the appointment can also be done by calling our call center, and the number is on the website. Then for students, you also have to pay something called the SEVIS fee. This is a student tracking and verification system that our Department of Homeland Security uses. That's a separate part of the US government, and that fee goes to them, not to the State Department that I work for. And you pay that fee, as you see on the presentation, by going to FMJ, that's for FMJ visas, fmjfee.com, and you can pay the SEVIS fee there. And then you should make sure your passport has at least 6 months of validity on it. And then once you do that, when you apply, you'll get an interview to come to the consular section at the American Embassy for a personal interview. And what do you bring with you to the interview? You bring your passport, you bring a photo. As you can see in the example, we have certain requirements. It should be 2 inches by 2 inches, and full face, both ears visible, no glasses, and the head a certain size, not too small, not too big. The exact specifications are on our website. And then when someone fills out the DS-160 application online, you have the opportunity to print out a confirmation sheet. You should bring that confirmation sheet with you. And for a student, you should bring your Form I-20 with you to the interview. These are the things you need to bring with you. Now, to talk a little bit about the interview, what is the interview? During the interview, well, first of all, let me explain a little bit what happens when you come to the embassy. So when someone comes to the American Embassy to apply for a visa, first you will have to go through a security screening. It is pretty similar to what you would do going to an airport to board a flight. So you should think in those terms. And you should also think about what you bring with you. Generally speaking, if security would not allow you to take it through the security screening at an airport, our security will not allow you to bring it into the US Embassy. For instance, we're not going to let you bring in liquids or large bags or electronics. It's best to leave those someplace secure if you can and not bring them with you through security. After you go through security, you'll come to our waiting room. You'll go up and speak, first of all, with one of our local employees who will take your information and verify it. Then you'll go to the first of our US citizen employees you'll meet, who will take your fingerprints. It's a requirement. It's taken electronically. No one has to worry about getting ink on their fingers or anything like that. And then you will speak to one of our vice consuls or one of our consuls. Or on rare occasion, you might even speak to me. And the purpose of that interview is to determine your qualification for the visa. So we're going to want to know about you. There's really no way to prepare for the interview. We're not looking to ask trick questions. We're not trying to catch you in a mistake. So the best thing is just to come ready to tell us about a subject you should know well, which is yourself. You should be able to tell us why you're interested in a certain school and a certain educational program, what you plan to do with that after you graduate, how that will help you with the future you have planned back in your home country. That is one of the requirements for a U.S. visitor's visa, that the applicants show us that they will return to their home country and not remain in the U.S. So if you can explain how your education will help you with your future plans in your home country, that's very helpful and something we need to know. Excuse me, I'm just going to turn off the sound on my phone for just a moment so we're not interrupted. I apologize. And for student visas, we're also required to ensure that we know how you're going to pay for the costs, so we'll want to know about that. And if it's a program where they say you already know English, don't be surprised if we conduct the interview in English to make sure that you do have the English ability required for the program. If a program is going to teach you English, then obviously we will be conducting an interview in the language you speak. For here in Panama, mostly we're prepared to do the interview in Spanish. So after the interview, you'll be told what the result is at that moment by the vice consul doing the interview. The vast majority of student visa applicants here in Panama are approved for their visa. So you'll be told your visa is approved and how long you should expect to get it back from our courier service. All the visas go back through our courier. If a visa is refused, for a student visa, it could be refused for one of three reasons. All the way on the right, you see 212A. That's a section of the law that governs people that have what we call permanent ineligibilities. Those are people that have done something very seriously wrong, such as committed a serious criminal offense or engaged in terrorist activity. It is extremely rare that one of our student visa applicants has a problem under that section of the law. Then all the way on the left is 214B. That is our section of the law that requires that applicants show that they will return to their home after their time in the US. If someone's refused under that, it simply means at the time of the interview, they cannot convince the consular officer that they met the qualifications for the visa or that they would return to their home abroad. 221G, that's the one that a student would most commonly see, and that means we need some additional documentation. So for instance, if you got to your interview and we found that your SEVIS fee had not been paid or had not been processed, we would have to deny the application under 221G until you paid the SEVIS fee and brought us evidence that it had been paid. If there was a problem with your I-20, for instance, if you forgot it, we would have to refuse you 221G and ask you come back another day and bring the I-20. A 221G simply means we need additional information, or we need to do some additional checks and processing on our side. But again, most people's visa applications for student visas are approved. Sometimes sometimes we have to do additional processing on our end. This is the so-called administrative processing. And unfortunately, this takes as long as it takes. And it's hard for us to predict how long this will take. But again, it's not common for students. So some myths about the visa. One of the myths, something I've heard a lot of people ask over the years is, well, how do I answer the questions correctly? You simply tell us the truth to the best of your ability. That's all we're asking for. Like I said, we're not asking trick questions, and we're not trying to catch you in some way. Just answer truthfully to the best of your ability. That's all we ask for. So the next question, can you get a student visa to attend a university of any size? Absolutely. You can get a student visa for colleges, universities, public institutions, private institutions. You can get them for community colleges, 2-year programs, 4-year programs, master's degrees, PhDs. There's a wide range of tertiary educational opportunities in the US. And as long as the school you're going to has received permission to receive international students and can issue you an I-20, you can get a student visa to go to that school. Now, my favorite myth that I like to bust is the visa fixers, the people that offer to help you get a visa can actually help you. That is absolutely false. If you remember very little from what I say, remember this. The people that have big signs in front of their shops with the Statue of Liberty and eagles and all this kind of stuff, stars and stripes and whatnot, that say that they can guarantee you a visa, that they can help you get a visa, they are lying to you, and all they're trying to do is take your money. They will charge you to fill out an application that you can fill out for yourself online. I guarantee you, if you were able to log into this session on the internet today, you can complete our application online for no extra cost. If you were able to log into this session today, you can schedule your appointment online at no extra cost, instead of paying someone $100 or more to do it for you, and to do it poorly. Oftentimes we find people that pay someone to fill out their applications, they don't fill it out correctly because they don't even ask you all the questions on the application. They just go through and put whatever they want to. So please don't use those services. Do it for yourself. I know you can do it. And the last myth here, I'm going to have to look on my bigger screen because a little cutout covers it for me. Are international students welcome in the US? Absolutely. We love issuing student visas. Personally, I'm a big supporter of our student visa program and international students. I think you as students gain so much from studying abroad, and our students that will be your fellow students at whatever school you go to gain so much from attending classes with international students. I'm a big booster of it, and we certainly welcome international students. So some websites for you, in addition to the website that was posted of our contractor, where you go to schedule your appointment, pay your fee, travel.state.gov. That's our website, the Bureau of Consular Affairs, the part of the State Department that oversees all visas, issues overseas. Please visit us. You'll find a lot of information there. Of course, Education USA. If you're interested in a J1 visa, the exchange visitor visa, j1visa.state.gov is your website. The website, if you want to go directly to fill out your application, you can use this site, CEAC or SEAC.state.gov, and you can go there to fill out your application, or you can get the link through our website or through the US Travel Docs website. And then the website Study in the States, DHS.com, for our Department of Homeland Security. A few more websites, our embassy website, pa.usembassy.gov. If you go there, you can find information about visas. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you have questions, you can email us at panama-visas@state.gov. I'll leave the slide there so you can write down those addresses, but I'm finished with the presentation and I'll be happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. We do have some great questions. So I'm going to read them out to you. And I'll begin with question number 1. Can you confirm the cost associated with applying to the student visa?
Yes, so the application fee for most types of visas, including student visas, is $160 right now. In addition, if you're a Panamanian applying for a student visa and you're approved for a visa, you'll have to pay, I believe it's $90. And you pay that in the consular section after you're told the visa has been approved.
Wonderful. Thank you. And for Costa Rica, I understand that that additional approval fee is $68. And on top of that, also there's a fee for CVs, as you mentioned earlier, also in your presentation, correct?
Yes, and that should be paid online before you come to your interview. And that's paid to our Department of Homeland Security. That's someone else, that's not us.
Great, thank you. We have a lot of questions associated with OPT and the type of visa that students would need in order to complete an OPT. So can you clarify how that works?
Yes, OPT should be covered on your I-20, and you do that while you're still on your F1 student visa.
So there's no need to apply for a different visa or to pay anything extra, correct?
No, you continue on your student visa. That's correct.
Great.
And the other thing is, as long as you're in the U.S., you are usually admitted for the duration of status. You don't need to get another visa. But if the visa in the passport expires and you leave the U.S. for some reason, then yes, you would need to apply for a new visa to finish your program.
Wonderful, thank you. We have a question related to the fact that some students may already have a tourist visa, and they want to know if this at all helps in the process of obtaining a student visa. How does this work? How dynamic complements each other, if at all?
Okay. I was having some technical difficulties while you were reading the question,
sure.
But I think the question was, if someone already has a tourist visa, does that help with the student visa? What's the interplay between the two visas?
Correct.
So, let me say, there's no problem having two visas of two different types. So if you have a tourist visa and you apply for your student visa, first of all, we're not going to take the tourist visa away from you. You keep that, and we issue an additional student visa. If you're going to the US for your studies, you would present your student visa when you arrive at the border for entry. In terms of helping you get a visa, it helps marginally a little bit in terms of that requirement of the law to demonstrate an intention to return to your residence abroad. If you already have a tourist visa, we presume you've already demonstrated that, or your family has when they applied for that for you. But in terms of meeting the qualifications for a student visa, you still have to do that. You still have to come present your I-20. You still have to talk to us about the program, how you plan to use it, how it fits into your plans, and you still will have to demonstrate that you can cover the costs of the program.
Wonderful. Perhaps a related question. Somebody who is under an H-4 visa in the US, what would the transition be to get an F-1 visa?
So There is, and I'm not, if this is an issue I'm not expert in, so I will direct you to the website of our Department of Homeland Security, dhs.gov, and you'll find your answers there. If you are in the US on one type of visa and you are going to change to do something else, there is a process called adjustment of status, where you can adjust your status from one thing to something else while in the US. But you can't always adjust between all types of visas. You can adjust between certain classes of visa. That would be a question to look on our Department of Homeland Security website. But if you were to leave the US for any reason, then yes, you would come in and apply for your F1 student visa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And the last question we have is, how long will the visa last for on my passport?
So usually there are two dates. There is a maximum reciprocity date, which is the maximum length for which we can issue a student visa. Normally, we issue it for the length of the program you're going to, unless the maximum length, and the maximum length varies from country to country. Unless the maximum length is less than your program, then we issue it up to the maximum length. If it covers the full program, then we issue it according to the program, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. We do have one last question that came in just now. It's kind of related, but maybe focusing more on the type of visa. If my career is 6 years, which visa is the right one for me?
Or so you're
for a degree.
By career, you mean your program of study.
Exactly, program of study.
So the type of visa is always governed by what you're going to be doing in the US, not the length of time. So if you're going to the US to study, then you would get a student visa regardless of the anticipated length of your program, if that answers the question.
Yes, and we do have one last question.
Okay.
If I obtain a student visa to study English first, and then I come back to my country, and then I wish to study another degree, do I need to request and apply for a new visa?
So, sorry, I was distracted. I was trying to look up something. So if you have a student visa for one degree program and you change programs, and do you need a new student visa? Well, if you change schools, you need to work with your school to update your SEVIS record in the US to make sure that our Department of Homeland Security doesn't think you skipped out on your program. And there's a mechanism to do that. So if you're at one school and then you want to change schools, you can do that. You just need to work with the international offices at both schools to make sure your SEVIS record is updated. But if you complete a program, so let's say you're studying a bachelor's degree, you complete it, you graduate, then you go on to a master's degree, you come back home for a visit, you would need a new student visa because that's a new program, not a continuation of the same program.
Excellent. And we do have one last question, but this will be the last one, and we'll wrap it up with this one. Can we work while studying in the US?
There is the possibility of student work, and you arrange that through the university. And again, you would want to make sure that the International Student Office is updating your SEVIS record, and they're confirming that it's appropriate work, that it's allowed through the program, permitted by our Department of Homeland Security, and that your record is updated. What we don't want you to do is just go out and randomly answer a help wanted ad and just randomly take a job someplace. That's not allowed. If it's through the university and it's approved work study type work, then that would be allowed.
And just to confirm, it will be with the same visa. No need to apply for something different.
Yes.
Correct. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Taylor, for taking the time today to join us. And thank you to all the students who joined this session and who joined this STEAM open house. It has been a great event for all of us. We have enjoyed putting it together for all of you. And we look forward to continuing the conversations. You know how to reach out to Education USA, both in Costa Rica and Panama. So we look forward to seeing you, well, for now, virtually there. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. And again, I want to point out our website and our address. If you have any questions, please visit our website or send us an email, and we'll do our best to answer you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.